Hey everybody, this is Justin out in the workshop again, and today we are going to put together the new and exciting photorealistic pit building from AFX. We're going to go over some modeling techniques to try to put it together as professionally as possible. It's a really great looking kit, and I'm also going to show you some extra modeling techniques to make the structure more stable and also add realism to your layout. So let's take a look at what we have. Okay guys, so here's the basic kit that you get, which consists of a very large strip of double-sided tape that you need to put this together. So you don't actually need any glue at all. You just use this according to the instructions. It is a fairly large double-sided printed, very detailed. You can see the lights on the inside of the roof and the toolboxes in the back and what have you. Pretty thick cardstock, really nice, glossy. The instructions to assemble it are on the back here, and fairly basic and easy to follow. In addition to that, there's a couple extra modeling tips that I want to add. I want to actually put this on a base. These tracks are about 1/4 inch thick, so I want to be able to elevate it up. Now, you can use, if you did get the kit, you can use the cardboard out of the inside of the carton, but my suggestion would be you can go to any art store and pretty cheaply get this foam core, which is just styrofoam sandwiched between two pieces of paper. Actually, this piece of scrap I have looks like it's going to be perfect. So, like I said, in assembling the kit, all you need is the double-sided tape, and looks like maybe a pair of scissors to cut it. In addition to that, if you do want to put it on the base, toward the end here, we're going to go ahead and trace it onto the base and cut the base out to the appropriate size, so you need a pencil. I'm going to actually use this hobby tack from Woodland Scenics, but really any sort of glue to go ahead and glue it to the base at the end if you're going to optionally do that. Okay, so step one is they recommend actually pre-folding all of these folds. Obviously the back wall here is folded and the front here, but there's some other steps here. You want to fold these tabs inward and fold the walls up. And also what I think is the trickiest part here is there's a perforated line here, because this piece actually folds out toward you. So if you're reading the instructions and it sounds confusing what they're saying about reverse fold, is all these other folds fold inward. This piece right here actually folds out. So let's go ahead and do that, fold it, and we'll come right back. So as we can see, the building is starting to take shape here. Now a couple tips. Number one, when I go to fold stuff, I'll actually fold it a little bit further than 90 degrees here. That way when it springs back, it doesn't want to bow out. It'll actually just kind of go to the 90 degrees. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier about folding this actually outward. So this middle piece is actually the overhang. That's why you see the lights here. So when it sets down, it overhangs the front here on the driveway. Another tip, the next step is going to be to cut out the double-sided tape, and we'll go over that in a second. But when we do, number one, these tabs actually go through these slits, and I know it's hard to see, but there actually is some slits right here. The ends are kind of open. I don't know if you can see that right there. The ends are open, and there is actually a slit right in the center. So I don't know how easily those will go through with the double-sided tape, so I'm going to cut the appropriate size to go on there, but I'm going to wait until I get it through the bottom side of the model to go ahead and do that. But I can go ahead and, on all these patterned areas you see here with this speckle, that's where the double-sided tape's going to go. One other tip is, when this wall goes together here, you can see it's going to match that. You got, for that overhang, you got this little tiny tab here. You might be tempted to put that in between, but I think what's going to happen is if you put that there, it's going to cause the front to kind of buckle out a little bit because that piece will be in the way. So what I'm going to do, what I would recommend, is to go ahead when you put this and attach it to the side of the building, is to go ahead and put that overhang piece behind that larger tab so it doesn't cause it to flex out kind of weird at the bottom. So next step, if you haven't used double-sided tape before, this is actually, you got a sticker that's two-sided basically, and you've got a peelable surface on one side and the other, and it comes in kind of pre-cut strips here. So just go ahead and take all these surfaces and cut the appropriate size. Also, I'm not sure how much double-sided tape you get here since we're just putting this together now, but I would actually start with the smaller surfaces here, cut out just enough for those, and then move on to the longer surfaces in case we run out. You're going to need a specific size on these, like on here. On these, you can probably get away with maybe a couple sections if you don't have enough to do the whole thing. As you're cutting these strips out to assemble them, you want to just kind of hold them up, find the bottom of the strip right there, hold it up next to it as a template, and you can see that's angled. Just very carefully come over here, and you can go ahead and cut it at an angle just like that. Now that's going to leave an angle on the piece that you have left. Well, you can turn that around since it's double-sided tape, and when you go to do the other side, it's going to line up the exact same way, and then just cut that to length. So just a little trick when you're cutting these. Okay, so looks like we're going to have just enough tape. You're probably going to have to section it like I did here. So basically we have, as I showed you, whoop, the front. So we've got the front three tabs, which go right here on the front posts of the building. Right there on the front three posts that are going to go down through the slits. Then on the side here, we have two sets of the side of the wall, that little corner piece, and then the upper side of the wall, which, as you can see, is this right here. So a tab, the small tab in there, and then another tab. And then we have the back wall sections, which I started using sections to get the right length here. So two back wall sections, which are right here on either side, and then the long roof sections, which you're one way or another you're going to have to do in sections. So I've got two full-length strips, and then I've got just enough, which should go ahead and do that, which is this upper edge right here on the top of the wall where it connects. So the next step is, on those areas with the speckle on there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to peel these out, and we're going to carefully apply them onto there. Try not to overlap. Only peel off one side, so it's kind of tricky. It's like any other sticker. You're just going to use your thumbnail, just like that, and you can see. Now you can stick that on and apply it, and then we're not going to take off this sticker side, this paper side, to reveal the sticky side until we're ready to put it together. So let's go ahead and put these together and prep them on the tab. Okay guys, so now we've got all the double-sided tape put on, and I know that's probably a little tough for maybe some of you guys. Double-sided tape can be real tricky to work with sometimes. It'll stick to your fingers, it won't go on quite right. So a couple tricks that hopefully will help is, if you're having trouble getting just the one side of the peelable side off of the sticky tape, try using a piece of Scotch tape and stick it on there, and it should help pull that one side off. And then also when you're going to stick these on, this is kind of semi-glossy material, but once it's on there, good. If you just get it on there a little bit, you can kind of back up and pull it off without leaving the tape there. But if you put it on, it's pretty much on there, especially if you press firmly. So another trick would be to go ahead and lay it flat, try to line it up before you go ahead and press it on. And if you don't get it perfectly aligned, don't worry about it, because when this white backing comes off, you probably saw the sticky side, it's going to be entirely clear, so you're not going to see anything. So now at this point we can align it. Just double check that your tabs bend and don't bow out to over 90 degrees. Make sure they're folded in nice and good, because we don't want the edges bowing out when they're stuck. And on the inside, you can see there's some detail here. They have like a fire extinguisher, and on the inside you're going to see where that is going to overlap that, so that when you're looking in the garage, you shouldn't even be able to notice the seam. So you're just going to peel the tape off, line that up as carefully as possible, and when you got it just right, you're going to press in, take your finger on the inside, and then just once you have it in there and attached, run it along that, put some pressure on it, and it'll help it stick. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll do the back wall. Okay, so I got the back done. Now remember, when you're doing this, it may start sticking to your fingers. It's easier to use your finger and peel the tab back, even though your finger's stuck to the tape, because you can peel your finger off fairly easily and it won't take too much of the sticky material off. But you might have noticed that once it's stuck to this paper, it's pretty well stuck to this paper. So I think I got it squared up. I've got the back walls done. As you look on the inside, the fire extinguishers are lined up. Now that back wall seems a little bit off, but it's not going to be noticeable way back in the corner there. But it looks like, especially looking at the roof, we've got everything lined up pretty good. So let's go ahead and do these roof tabs. Okay, so we got the roof attached here. This one's a little bit more tricky, but once again, just kind of size it up, pre-test fit it before you commit to taking the peeling the sticker back off of it. Now the next one may be a little more tricky. C-section right here first, and then the D section. And like I said, I would leave this little tab until after you get this one done. And then when I test fit it, now is probably a good time to test fit those slots. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we got this C-tabs right here done, and I went ahead and did those little tiny tabs. Once you have these set on either side here, it's pretty easy to go ahead and get that overhang in there pretty good. And especially when these strips are smaller, unlike here on the top, they're a little bit easier if you don't get them on quite right to go ahead and very quickly pull them off and then reset them. They don't stick quite so bad. Just make sure you try to get in there and press them from the backside once you do have them in the spot you want, to make sure that they stay stuck. Also, it's a little easier to work with it if you turn it upside down, inverted at this point. So the last steps here is to do these posts here on the wall, and then to go ahead and stick these. Okay, that last one was pretty tough to get these in. Now it does help a little bit that you can flex this bottom piece, but even with that, I did do a little bit of tearing here, trying to make sure it was as straight as possible. I mean, this is a really interesting and unique angle here, but it's really tough to get it entirely straight. Sometimes you can pull the tape away at the last second, sometimes you can't. So if you do mess up and you do get a tear, don't worry. You can always tape it, or I would recommend just gluing it, and then hopefully we can straighten it out when we do these bottom pieces. Okay, now this is by far the toughest part of the model right here, this underhang area here. Now I actually did put these going backward instead of forward, just because of the way it made these posts flex once I got it done. But I would say check it before you do the tape. Check it folding them both ways, because it will actually flex these posts here, and depending on how you get this piece here on the bottom end, it may affect how it looks. So I would test it out, see how it looks. On mine, it kind of flexed it in a better light going backwards, so that's how I stuck it. Do it whatever direction on yours. Like I said, if you do damage something, don't worry, we can repair it. It does offer this kind of interesting recess here, but it makes for, like I said, what I think is the most difficult part of the model. But as you can see, we got it together, so from there we're going to go ahead and work on the base.